Paul is dead. Among the wildest music theories, very few things have stirred up more mystery and obsession than the Paul is dead conspiracy. According to the theory that circulated in late 1966, at the absolute height of Beatlemania, Paul McCartney supposedly died in a brutal car crash after storming out of a studio argument. Believers of the theory are convinced that instead of announcing his death and throwing the world into chaos, the Beatles, with help from the British government and maybe even MI5, decided to cover it up. They held a secret contest to find a look-alike and ended up replacing Paul with a Scottish man named William Shears Campbell, often shortened to Billy Shears. This new Paul looked almost identical, had a similar voice, and was trained to mimic his mannerisms. Meanwhile, the surviving Beatles, burdened by guilt, decided to leave behind a trail of clues for loyal fans to decode, and fans did start decoding. Things got a lot more serious when people started playing songs backward and finding strange messages like, "Paul is dead, miss him," and "Turn me on, dead man." On the iconic Sgt. Pepper's Lonely Hearts Club Band album, Paul is the only Beatle facing forward on the back cover, and there's a hand over his head, which is supposedly a symbol of death in some cultures. Then there's the Magical Mystery Tour album, where Paul wears a black carnation while the others wear red. But the most famous of all is the Abbey Road cover, where John is in white like a priest, Ringo is in black like an undertaker, and George is in denim like a gravedigger. Paul was barefoot, completely out of step with the others, and holding a cigarette in his right hand, even though he was left-handed. For many fans, this was too strange to ignore. They believed the Beatles were hiding Paul's death in plain sight, even though Paul McCartney himself has laughed off the theory and once titled a live album, Paul is Live, as a tongue-in-cheek jab. It's never fully gone away. To this day, there are forums, documentaries, and deep-dive YouTube videos devoted to comparing Paul's face before and after 1966, measuring ears, analyzing songwriting shifts, and arguing about the change in his personality. Some people have even pointed to the sudden psychedelic direction of the Beatles after 1966 as a sign that something had changed. Avril Lavigne's body double. One of the strangest and most oddly convincing celebrity conspiracy theories is the idea that Avril Lavigne, the punk pop princess who gave us Skater Boy and Complicated, actually died in 2003. That's not all. The theory also suggests that she was quietly replaced by a lookalike named Melissa Vandella. According to this theory, Avril couldn't handle the pressure of sudden fame, combined with the death of her beloved grandfather and some struggles with mental health. The story goes that the people managing her career didn't want to let go of their cash cow, so they hired Melissa, a girl who had once worked as Avril's decoy for the paparazzi. After Avril's alleged death, Melissa was trained to become her full-time replacement, singing, performing, doing interviews, and basically living Avril's life. The theory blew up because it just had the perfect mix of drama, mystery, and pop culture weirdness. What really got people talking, though, were the supposed clues. Fans began picking apart her lyrics, album artwork, and even red carpet appearances. They pointed out that Avril's voice and personality seemed different after 2003, as it was less punk and more pop. Her fashion style shifted from baggy jeans and neckties to dresses and heels. Some said even her facial shape subtly changed. Her nose looked slimmer, her jawline sharper, and her smile was just off. There were also comparisons of her handwriting from before and after 2003, which did show some differences, and people latched onto that like it was proof. One of the biggest clues conspiracy theorists point to is the word Melissa, supposedly being scribbled on Avril's hand in a photo shoot, and lyrics in songs like Nobody's Home and Slipped Away, which sound like someone mourning themselves. What's wild about this theory is that it actually started as a joke on a Brazilian blog back in the mid-2000s. The blogger admitted it was just a made-up story meant to show how easily people can be fooled by celebrity gossip and internet sleuthing. Eminem was replaced. There's a wild theory about Eminem that can't seem to leave the internet. The theory claims that Slim Shady actually died back in 2006 and was secretly replaced by a clone. According to believers, the real Marshall Mathers either overdosed or died under mysterious circumstances after releasing Encore, and the music industry, desperate to keep cashing in on his fame, got a manufactured version of him to take his place. Speculations are that this new Eminem might look a lot like him, but if you look closely, there are subtle differences in his appearance, from his jawline and eyes to his overall facial expressions, which supposedly changed drastically after 2006. Conspiracy theorists argue that the current version lacks the raw edge and wild spark that defined the original Slim Shady, and they've got videos, photo comparisons, and slowed down interviews to prove it. One of the biggest pieces of evidence comes from a song by rapper Tom MacDonald called "Cloned Rappers." The track suggests that the government or powerful industry personalities are cloning artists and replacing the real ones to control messages and influence society. Fans of this theory love pointing to moments where Eminem stumbles over his words, seems confused in interviews, or gives awkward, robotic answers, especially when asked about things from his past. There's also talk about how his voice changed, pointing out the detail that the real Eminem was more aggressive and quick-witted, while the newer version sounds more calculated, almost too polished. Even his style of rapping and the subjects of his songs shifted, going from wild chaos and controversy to more introspective and personal themes. For conspiracy lovers, that's just more proof that this isn't the same guy. But of course, there's a much more down-to-earth explanation. People change. Eminem went through drug rehab around that time. He got sober, and he aged, like any human would. His voice could have changed naturally, his energy mellowed out, and his facial structure could have shifted with age or health issues. Plus, anyone who's been through trauma or addiction recovery tends to grow and evolve. Critics of the clone theory say it's all just fans having a hard time accepting that their favorite rapper grew up and calmed down, but the theory refuses to die. Beyoncé was never pregnant. Back in 2011, rumors started surfacing online that Beyoncé was never actually pregnant with her first child, Blue Ivy. There were claims that she used a surrogate to carry the baby while she wore a fake bump in public. The whole thing really took off after a TV interview in Australia, where Beyoncé sat down and her baby bump appeared to fold in a very strange way, almost like it collapsed in on itself. The clip went viral within hours. People zoomed in, slowed it down, and suddenly the internet was flooded with headlines and YouTube videos claiming that she was wearing a prosthetic belly and faking the whole pregnancy. Critics of Beyoncé pointed to more evidence, like how her bump seemed to change sizes at different public appearances, or how she managed to stay incredibly fit and energetic during a time when most women slow down. Some even analyzed her outfits, suggesting they were carefully chosen to hide the shape of a fake bump. Things got so intense that talk show hosts, tabloid magazines, and social media users couldn't stop debating whether one of the most famous women on the planet was pulling off an elaborate scam. People speculated that Beyoncé wanted to protect her image, avoid body changes, or maintain privacy, so she and Jay-Z supposedly hired a surrogate while pretending she was carrying the baby herself. But Beyoncé wasn't having it. She and Jay-Z denied the rumors, calling them ridiculous and hurtful. Later, she released never-before-seen home videos showing her actual bare pregnant belly to silence the gossip. Fans pointed out that the folding belly could easily have been a result of camera angles, lighting, or the design of her maternity dress. And honestly, pregnancy bumps can look different day to day, as it's not a one-size-fits-all situation, but some conspiracy theorists haven't let it go. Jay-Z and the Illuminati. For years, people have been talking and commenting online that Jay-Z is secretly part of the Illuminati, a shadowy group of powerful elites supposedly controlling the world from behind the scenes. The theory says he didn't just rise to the top because of talent and hustle, but because he made a deal with dark forces. Fans and conspiracy theorists point to the way Jay-Z flashes the now famous Rockefeller diamond hand sign. While he says it represents his record label, some insist it looks suspiciously like the all-seeing eye inside a pyramid, just like the one on the back of the dollar bill, which is a major Illuminati symbol. People have paused his music videos frame by frame looking for triangles, secret hand gestures, glowing eyes, and other supposed occult signs. Jay-Z's lyrics don't help calm things down either. In some tracks, he makes cheeky references to being part of something mysterious. Phrases like, "I'm on my third six," or "Lucifer, son of the morning," are just vague enough to set off alarm bells for people already looking for a secret agenda. Then, there's the way his career took off with seemingly unstoppable momentum, and he was constantly signing business deals, starting cultural influence, and getting an iconic status that goes way beyond music. Conspiracy theorists say this kind of success can't be natural and must be part of a master plan run by the Illuminati. They also point to his elaborate performances, luxury tastes, and the way he often frames himself as a god figure in his songs and visuals, suggesting that he's not just an artist, but a puppet, or even a recruiter for this mysterious elite group. It didn't stop with Jay-Z. His wife Beyoncé got pulled into the theory too. People claim they're both high-ranking members of the Illuminati and use their music and performances to influence the masses, especially young people. From Super Bowl halftime shows to music videos filled with surreal imagery, conspiracy theorists believe they're sending coded messages about control, rebellion, and hidden power. Of course, the much simpler explanation is that they're using bold visuals, powerful symbolism, and larger-than-life storytelling as part of their brand, and doing it really well. But even with no solid proof, the Illuminati rumors haven't gone away. In fact, the mystery just seems to make Jay-Z a lot more fascinating. Stevie Wonder can see. The idea that Stevie Wonder, one of the most iconic blind musicians in history, can actually see sounds wild, but believe it or not, it's a real conspiracy theory that's been around for years. It all started after a strange moment in 2010 when Stevie was on stage with Paul McCartney. In the middle of a live performance, a microphone stand started to fall, and Stevie reached out and caught it, smooth as ever. That clip hit the internet, and people immediately started talking. How could a blind man react that fast unless he saw it coming? From there, the rumors spread fast. People started digging up more clips, overanalyzing every movement, every gesture, looking for moments where he might have dodged something or turned his head too perfectly. Then celebrities began adding fuel to the fire. Shaquille O'Neal once told a story about being in an elevator with Stevie Wonder, and to his shock, Stevie greeted him by name without anyone saying who was there. Shaq swore Stevie somehow knew it was him. Other stories surfaced, like Stevie supposedly taking pictures with a camera, or being able to navigate unfamiliar places with ease. Suddenly, people were combing through interviews, concert footage, and public appearances, hunting for any sign that he could see, but Stevie Wonder had been blind since birth, due to a condition called retinopathy of prematurity. He's never made a secret of it, and he's addressed the rumors with humor and patience over the years. He's even joked about the conspiracy in interviews, saying things like, "If I had been faking this long, I'd be a hell of an actor." The most likely explanation for the microphone incident is that he felt it falling or sensed movement near him, because his hearing and instincts are really sharp. Regardless, when a legend like Stevie Wonder does something extraordinary, people love to spin a mystery around it. The CIA wrote Wind of Change. It sounds like something straight out of a spy thriller, but there's a surprisingly persistent theory that the CIA actually wrote the 1990 rock ballad Wind of Change by the Scorpions, the same emotional anthem that became the unofficial soundtrack of the fall of the Berlin Wall. Might have been more than just a hit. It could have been a secret weapon of US propaganda. The theory started after journalist Patrick Radden Keefe launched a podcast in 2020, also called Wind of Change, where he talked about a tip from a former CIA agent who claimed the agency had a hand in writing the song. The podcast dives deep into the Cold War, looking at how the US government used soft power, like movies, books, and even music, to push democratic ideals and weaken Soviet control from the inside out. The theory was very believable, as the CIA has been caught doing this kind of thing before. In the 1950s, they secretly funded cultural projects like abstract art, literary magazines, and even the animated version of Animal Farm, all in the name of fighting communism without guns. So the idea that they'd use a rock band to spread the message of freedom doesn't sound totally insane. Wind of Change came out at a turning point in history, right as the Soviet Union was starting, and its lyrics about peace, hope, and change in Eastern Europe were almost too perfectly timed. But the thing is, there's never been any solid proof to back the theory up. Klaus Meine, the Scorpions' lead singer who's credited with writing the song, insists it came straight from his heart after experiencing the Moscow Music Peace Festival in 1989. Most experts lean toward believing him, but the thought that a rock song could have helped crumble one of the most powerful empires on Earth is too much juicy gossip for some people to let go of. David Bowie predicted Kanye West. In 1972, David Bowie released The Rise and Fall of Ziggy Stardust and the Spiders from Mars, a concept album that introduced the world to his wild, otherworldly alter ego, Ziggy. On the album's cover, Bowie is standing under a glowing sign that reads K West. At the time, nobody thought much of it. It was just a random shop sign in London. But years later, fans started connecting dots that led straight to one unexpected name, Kanye West. The strangest thing is that Kanye was born almost exactly 5 years after the album dropped, and Bowie's opening track on that very album is literally called 5 Years, a song about the world ending in 5 years. Things get even deeper when you look at how some people view Bowie's final album, Black Star, which was released just 2 days before he died in 2016. The whole record feels like a goodbye letter, packed with cryptic lyrics, references to death, rebirth, and passing something on to the next generation. In the song Black Star, Bowie sings about a new person rising as he fades away. Conspiracy theorists and fans who love to find meaning in chaos argue that Bowie was passing the creative torch to Kanye, who by then had become one of the most talked about and polarizing artists in the world. They point to Kanye's fearless experimentation in music, his self-comparisons to gods and kings, and his tendency to shape pop culture in bizarre, brilliant, or outrageous ways, just like Bowie once did. The theory has plenty of critics who call it coincidence and creative overreach. Bowie himself never commented on Kanye in any deep way. The K West sign has nothing to do with the rapper, as it was just the name of a furrier shop, but that hasn't stopped fans from running wild with the idea. Taylor Swift is a reincarnated satanic priestess. One theory claims that Taylor Swift isn't just a wildly successful singer-songwriter. She's actually the reincarnation of Zena LaVey, the daughter of Anton LaVey, who founded the Church of Satan in the 1960s. Zena herself was a high priestess of the church in the 80s and was known for her pale skin, bold eyeliner, and mysterious aura, which, according to some internet detectives, is a dead ringer for early Taylor Swift. The side-by-side photos went viral, with Swift and Zena both sporting that wide-eyed, ethereal stare and similar facial features. People who believe the theory claim that besides the resemblance, Swift's fame and sudden rise were part of some greater occult plan. But there's one problem. Zena LaVey is still alive. She left the Church of Satan decades ago, distanced herself from its teachings, and now lives quietly outside the public eye. But that hasn't stopped some people from linking Taylor to other supposedly dark symbols, like certain hand gestures in her music videos, cryptic lyrics, or the way she uses powerful goddess-like imagery during performances. These fans argue that Taylor, like other pop stars, might be part of some secret society using music to enchant the masses. Realistically, it's just creative styling and artistic storytelling, something Taylor has always leaned into, but the internet never needs much proof to run with a wild idea. Friday by Rebecca Black is about JFK's assassination. Of all the bizarre internet theories, the idea that Rebecca Black's viral hit Friday is secretly about the assassination of President John F. Kennedy might be one of the strangest. It all began with fans pointing out that JFK was shot on a Friday, November 22, 1963, and the song repeats, "Gotta get down on Friday," like it's hinting at something deeper. The music video shows Rebecca riding in a convertible, just like the one Kennedy was in when he was killed, and theorists started seeing every detail as a clue. Even the seemingly random breakfast cereal she mentions has been twisted into a supposed reference to JFK's final meal. Then there's the mysterious rapper, who appears mid-song, driving around and singing about choosing a seat. Some say he represents the driver of JFK's car, even though there's no real connection beyond the fact that he's, well, driving. While it sounds completely absurd, the theory gained momentum because of how ridiculous and oddly specific it is. Some fans genuinely dove into line-by-line breakdowns, claiming the song was a coded timeline of Kennedy's last day. Others treated it like a meme, sharing it half-jokingly across forums and YouTube. Rebecca Black was just 13 when she recorded the song, and she had no part in writing the lyrics. It was even produced by a small company hoping to make catchy songs for young singers. But once the conspiracy took hold, people couldn't help but look at the video through a new, twisted lens.